Act 60 is a tax incentive that the IRS offers if you, it's not 6 months in one day, because what that's gonna mean is it's gonna mean you're spending way too much time in the mainland. And so you gotta limit your exposure. I joke around and tell people say to me, you know, should I come? I don't know, I'm paying taxes, should I come? And I say, when you wanna keep all your money, that's when you know it's time to come.
Hey guys, we're back with Jerry Norton, and
Glad to be back.
we're gonna continue the conversations we've been having. Let's talk about Act 60 and some of the creative ways that you use it to export services back to the States and still flip houses and do the business that you've always done. You think about it in a way that I believe I've never heard before. And I was really not interested in Export Services Act 60 until I watched your video on it. So we should link that video because it was like an eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
And I have you here, and I said I can't leave without having you explain that to the audience because
Awesome.
It's really impactful. So you want to tell us, Jerry, please, about how you use Act 60?
Yeah, so Act 60 is a tax incentive that the IRS offers if you bring yourself and your business, right, to Puerto Rico. You got to follow all the rules. There's very specific rules. But then if you have a business where then you can operate out of Puerto Rico, and you can still provide services to the mainland, you can have employees in the mainland, all of that, but you yourself have to be providing the service back to the mainland. So it's meant for like a training, online businesses, anything that you can do where you're in Puerto Rico and you're providing the service from Puerto Rico to the mainland. So my real estate training business fit that perfectly. So I was sitting down with my tax people and learning more about the Act 60, and I said, how do I do my deals in the mainland through Act 60? Because I want the tax incentive.
Yeah.
And so my tax attorneys, and by the way, I'm not a tax attorney. Make sure you consult a tax attorney. This is just what I'm doing. You know, always get legal professional advice. I want to just kind of say that.
That's right.
But what we came up with was, so Jerry Puerto Rico, so there's Jerry Puerto Rico, entity Jerry Puerto Rico, right? Which is doing export services, which means I'm consulting, is kind of what that business is doing. Then there's mainland Jerry, which is doing deals. So I still do deals back in Detroit, where I'm from, in Arizona, where I lived. And the way it works is if you do a deal in Arizona, you're taxed in Arizona.
Correct.
Right? It's a mainland deal. That's been the problem. You're from Orlando. If you do a deal in Orlando, you're taxed in Florida.
Right.
So what happens is let's say Jerry Mainland does a deal, and I buy a house, I fix it up, I flip it, and let's say that I make $25,000 profit. Well, I would be subject to $25,000 in income at my tax bracket, which for me is really high. I'm in the 50% almost tax bracket with federal and state, which means then I would owe half of that $25,000 gain in tax. It's a flip, so it's income, it's taxed at the highest bracket. It's not a long-term investment, so it's counted as ordinary income, right?
Correct.
Well, here's the way we structure it now through Act 60. Jerry Mainland does a flip, makes $25,000. Jerry Puerto Rico consults Jerry Mainland, Export Services consults Jerry Mainland. I'm consulting my mainland business, and I'm charging my mainland business $25,000.
That's brilliant.
Because I'm consulting from here to the mainland. So now, because mainland Jerry has a $25,000 consulting bill,
Right.
that deal basically netted zero.
Correct.
So now I show a break even on the deal, but I just brought $25,000 of income into Puerto Rico Export Services at 4% tax.
It's unbelievably brilliant. And again, no one was thinking about it like that until I saw your video. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And you guys just got to watch his videos because he gives away this information. It's amazing, right? It's amazing.
What was tricky was when I talked to my my tax people, and I actually do, so it's called a transfer study, transfer pricing study. And basically it's an independent CPA that looks at everything you're doing and certifies or verifies that you're following all the rules, you're doing everything right, the income you're bringing over is legit. And it's very expensive to have this done. It's basically an insurance policy with the IRS.
I see.
Because if the IRS does an audit and they see that I did a pricing transfer study, they now have a whole nother layer to deal with, because now they're going to have to deal with my guy who's certified everything I'm doing is above board.
So you're much less likely to be audited.
It's mostly an insurance policy that you won't get audited. Yeah. Now I don't know, because they're auditing everybody here now.
Yeah.
But the point with that is, I sat down with him and I said, here's what I'm doing. How do I structure this the right way? The dog wants in. You can let him in. Come on, Bruno. Come on, Bruno. So the question I had was, I said, well, I do some big deals. Like, I do these luxury flips where I might make $1 million on this flip. How do I consult $1 million? Like, that's kind of, how do I pull that off?
Yeah.
And the way he explained it to me is, he said, well, the bigger the deal, the bigger the risk, the more consulting
you need.
Yeah. So he said, it doesn't matter. In fact, I can easily justify $1 million consulting bill for you to do some massive luxury type deal and export that through as consulting. Not a problem.
Wow.
So felt really comfortable with doing even bigger deals like that through Act 60.
I just love how creative you are in real estate structure, which we're involved in some real estate together, and we've had other videos that they can click on here, either on your channel or mine, that we're doing some creative stuff. But even with Act 60, your creative mind never stops, right? And so can you tell kind of some of the other nuances that Act 60 has? Why should someone who's in California jump ship, save 50% of their money and move to Puerto Rico? And what's it take to have an Act 60 business here, other than what they can do in the mainland? But what's the structure look like here in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, well, really interesting question. In fact, I did a video where I talked about everything I learned after my first year. And I would definitely say, though, that if you're considering coming to Puerto Rico, there's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people think that 6 months and 1 day is all you need to do, and then so the misconception that I had, that a lot of people have, is, well, I'll just kind of sort of do Puerto Rico and then I'll sort of do back home. You can't. The government wants to see you all in. You gotta integrate into Puerto Rico. You gotta
most closely tied to.
Yes, it's called closer connection. It's just one of the sniff tests is called closer connection, meaning if you're still too tied to the U.S., you're gonna violate the rules. So even though there is the 6 months and 1 day rule, it's not 6 months and 1 day, because what that's gonna mean is it's gonna mean you're spending way too much time in the mainland. And so you gotta limit your exposure to the mainland.
Right.
Now we still go and we vacation, but I'm on vacation, I'm not working. It's very clearly I'm on vacation. I make sure I make it very clear, if I get audited, that time on the mainland is mostly vacation.
Wow, okay.
Yep, unless I'm doing a quick trip for work, it's mostly vacation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna owe tax during that time on the mainland.
Right.
Because the income I'm earning is because I'm working on the mainland. Now I should be taxed on the mainland. Does that make sense? So a lot of people don't understand that. So if you're thinking about it, there's another big thing that I didn't know either that I learned, which is there's a clawback rule. So you have to be here for at least 3 years, or they'll claw back if you leave early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment. So
you're not
just doing 6 months and a day, which wouldn't really get you there anyway, for a year or two. You have to do this for 3, 4, 5 years. This is really...
It's a big commitment.
It's important that you move to Puerto Rico when you want to take advantage of these amazing... And why wouldn't you move to Puerto Rico anyways? I mean, we can look out the window.
We're at the ocean.
You've got a beautiful... We're in a tropical island. It's amazing, right?
But there are some challenges. So what some of the challenges are... everything's slower. Shopping's harder. Amazon's harder. There's a lot of inconvenience, right? It's Spanish speaking. So you do have to understand that the culture and the lifestyle is probably going to be much different than you're used to in the States. You've got to be able to manage that and that be okay.
Right.
But it's just part of the thing that you better understand and feel comfortable with. I honestly think, though, that you better be making pretty good income and paying pretty significant taxes, because it's still expensive to do Puerto Rico, because you're going to be doing trips back. That's expensive. They have some rules where you have to pay $10,000 per year in charities. That's part of the rules. There's separate entities, separate structuring. There's a lot of things where you don't come here to save 10 grand on your taxes.
No. Yeah.
Not for Act 60. If you're paying anything significant, it's really worth looking at. I joke around and tell people, People say to me, you know, should I come? I don't know, I'm paying taxes, should I come? And I say, when you want to keep all your money, that's when you know it's time to come.
Or if you live in California, it's time to come.
There's no reason why.
Some places that are just kind of no-brainers.
Or New York.
If you make money and live in New York or California, it's time to come.
Because you're paying over 50% if you're in the high income.
If you're a business owner, you could be close to 70%, right?
It makes no sense at all to me why you would do that. Yeah. But it's a great program. Once you get your decree, they call it, it's a 20 or 25 year contract.
Wow. Okay.
So even if they change the rules later, you're grandfathered in.
Yeah. And it took you, what, about a year to get that all set up?
6 months or so, yeah. You start on the clock when you move here, fully move here with your family, and you file for your application. And then that's when the clock starts. So they give you some leeway in year one, because that's your entry year. So we came in May, so they give you a little bit of leeway that year one. And then by year two, so then you have I think it's 3 full years where if you go home early, then you're going to owe all the tax back at the mainland tax. That's the clawback rule, yeah. Right. And the reason why, if you think about it, they don't want someone who's like, I'm about to sell my business for $400 million. I'm going to move to Puerto Rico, sell my business, and then move back home. Right? They want to make it so that you're really committed.
That's right. There are some other things like you must buy a property.
By year two.
By year two.
So you have to buy your personal residence by year two, which is amazing for investors like you and me to service the Act 60 buyers.
Oh, yeah.
So one of my strategies is real estate that serves those buyers, so luxury buyers. So I'm doing some flips because they're motivated buyers. Because they're coming here, they can rent for a year, but they have to buy to meet the requirements.
We've done some mid-term rentals where we'll have flexible lease options or lease terms so that people can come and live in an area while they decide where they're going to live, right? Like, so you don't know if you want to live in Palmas or Dorado or Condado, or maybe you want to live in Rincon, but if we provide a furnished apartment for you, make it easy for you to come in for 3 or 6 months while you figure it out, we think that's a good thing.
It's their so they all do exploratory trips. So they want to come for like a month. So if you can do a furnished rental for a month, they'll pay 20 grand, 30 grand for a nice furnished rental.
For something with this view.
They'll pay, there's some in our neighborhood that's what they charge.
That's amazing.
And the exploratory Act 60, potential Act 60 people, they come, they want to have it nice because they're trying to sell their spouse on why we're going to move to Puerto Rico usually, right? And so they want a really nice place, they'll pay top dollar. So that's one way to service them, like an Airbnb type model, or even just housing. So we're building and selling luxury homes to these Act 60 buyers that are coming and looking for housing.
And are there any requirements for you to create jobs for people? Do you have to take on employees?
So they require one. So right now they require one employee, and it can be you.
Oh wow!
So not really.
Okay. So
the old rule had nothing for that. So let me take that back. That has to be a salary. And that salary is subject to Puerto Rico tax. And so I have a salary that I take from my entity that I pay, and this is where the people that don't like me, that are probably going to leave negative comments, I still pay I think I pay 35% of my salary that I take in Puerto Rico. So I'm paying a Puerto Rico tax, but it's on a $250,000 salary.
I was going to say, you're taking a significant salary, though. I mean, that's
you have to. It has to match. It has to match your income of your business and the position of your salary. So I can't take a $40,000 a year salary as the CEO of a 8-figure company.
So on that portion of your income, you're in the highest tax bracket in Puerto Rico. But the other revenue that you can bring from the mainland, you're saving most of your money.
So like, if there's someone that says Act 60 is bad for the island. No, it's not. I'm paying high taxes for my salary. I'm paying $10,000 per year to Puerto Rican charities. That's good for the island.
Right.
I have anyway hired people. We have hired people. We have people that work full-time at our property. I'm doing a lot of real estate deals. That's providing jobs. I bought my car here. We got a rescue dog from Puerto Rico. Like, I'm all in. You know, I'm doing what the incentive was meant to do, which is bring my money, spend my dollars, come here with my family, integrate into the culture, and be Puerto Rican and provide value to the island. And I feel like I'm doing that to the full extent of what they intended it to do.
You're all in. You're definitely all in. This is your rescue dog right here, right?
Bruno.
I heard some stories about him. On again,
Yeah.
off again, love-hate relationship.
Oh yeah, it was
You
funny.
had to get him back from the guy you gave him away to? Or
I had to
something?
buy him back. Yeah.
He's a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good dog. He's been great.
Well, all right. Thanks for the conversation, and thank you guys for getting to the end of this. Click on one of the other videos that we've got. Subscribe. Look up Jerry Norton. Jerry,
Thank you for
it was a
having me.
pleasure. That was awesome.
Yeah, great conversation.
And I look forward to all the business that we're going to do. Bruno, you're the man.
Bruno wants to be in the video.
G. Bruno's a flipping genius. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.